Gina walked into the dining hall and felt the silence hit her like a wall. It happened every time. Every single time she entered a room full of aliens, the talking stopped. The laughing stopped. Everyone turned to look at the human. She kept her eyes forward and walked to her usual table in the corner. The table was small and far from everyone else. That was how she liked it. That was how everyone else liked it. Gina was 32 years old. She had been a cargo pilot for 8 years, flying supplies between stations and planets in this part of the galaxy. She was good at her job. She was quiet. She never caused trouble, but none of that mattered. She was human, and humans scare people. The Villani at the table nearest to her stood up quickly. They were tall creatures with hard shells and many legs. Their eyes clicked as they gathered their food and moved to a table farther away. They did not look at her. They did not need to. Their fear was clear enough. Gina sat down and placed her tray on the table. The food was not good, but it was warm. After 12 hours in her cargo ship, warm food was enough. She looked around the dining hall as she ate. Harmony 7 was one of the biggest trading stations in this sector. Thousands of beings lived here. Dozens of different species worked together, traded together, and ate together in this very hall. But not with humans. Never with humans. Gina understood why. She had heard the stories that aliens told about her kind. They called Earth a death world. They said that humans came from a planet so dangerous that nothing should have survived there. They talked about Earth's predators, its diseases, its wars. They looked at humans and saw monsters wearing soft skin. 40 years ago, humans had made first contact with alien life. Gina's grandmother had been alive for that moment. She used to tell Gina stories about how excited everyone was. Humans thought they would finally have friends among the stars. They thought the universe would welcome them. The universe did not welcome them. Gina took a bite of her food and chewed slowly. Across the hall, she noticed something that caught her attention. A family of Mirathi sat at a large table near the center of the room. Mirathi were big creatures, almost 3 meters tall when they stood straight. They had thick silver fur and faces that looked like bears from Earth. Their arms were long and strong, and their claws could cut through metal. But the Mirathi were known as gentle beings. They were artists and singers. They loved their families more than anything else. This family had a mother and 3 cubs. The cubs were small, maybe only a year old. They climbed over each other and played with their food. They made high sounds that might have been laughter. The mother sat still and watched them with tired eyes. Gina noticed that the mother looked wrong. Her fur was not shiny like it should be. Her movements were slow and heavy. She looked like she had not slept in days. Maybe Weeks thought the cubs did not seem to notice. They were too young to understand. They just wanted to play and eat and explore. One of them climbed onto the table and knocked over a cup. The mother did not even react. She just stared at nothing. Gina wondered where the father was. Mirathi families always had 2 parents. The father and mother shared everything. They never left each other. But this mother was alone. She looked away. It was not her business. She had learned long ago not to get involved in other people's problems. Getting involved meant talking to people. Talking to people meant scaring them. It was better to stay quiet. It was better to eat alone. The dining hall slowly filled with noise again. The aliens had gotten used to her presence, at least for now. They talked and laughed and ate their meals. Life continued around her like water flowing around a rock. Gina finished her food and was about to leave when she felt something. A strange feeling, like someone was watching her. She looked up. One of the Mirathi cubs was staring at her. The cub was the smallest of the 3. Its fur was lighter than its siblings, almost white. Its eyes were big and round and golden. It sat on the edge of its mother's table and looked at Gina without blinking. Gina waited for the cub to look away. Cubs always looked away. All aliens looked away eventually. They would see her human face, her human eyes, and they would remember the stories. Then fear would come, and they would turn their heads. But this cub did not look away. It tilted its head to one side, like it was trying to understand something. Its small ears moved forward. It made a soft sound, almost like a question. Gina felt something strange in her chest. She did not know what to do. She was not used to being looked at with anything other than fear. This cub looked at her like she was interesting, like she was a puzzle to solve. The mother finally noticed. She followed her cub's gaze and saw Gina. Her tired eyes went wide. She quickly grabbed the cub and pulled it close to her chest. She held all three cubs tight and turned her body away from the human. Gina stood up. She picked up her tray and walked to the disposal unit. She did not look back at the Mirathi family. She did not want to scare them more than she already had. But as she left the dining hall, she could not stop thinking about that cub. About those golden eyes that held no fear. About that small sound that almost seemed friendly. She shook her head. It did not matter. Tomorrow she would fly another cargo run. The day after that, she would fly another. Her life was simple. Her life was lonely. But it was safe. She did not need friends. She did not need family. She had her ship and her work and her small table in the corner. That was enough. It had to be enough. Gina walked through the metal hallways of the station toward her small room. The lights above her buzzed softly. Her boots made heavy sounds on the floor. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear aliens talking in languages she did not understand. She reached her door and pressed her hand to the panel. The door slid open. Her room was tiny, just a bed and a desk and a small window that looked out at the stars. She lay down on her bed and stared at the ceiling. Those golden eyes stayed in her mind. That small, curious face. That sounded like a question. Gina closed her eyes and tried to sleep. Tomorrow would be the same as today. The same silence when she entered a room. The same fear in alien eyes. The same lonely meals at her corner table. But somewhere deep inside her, in a place she tried to ignore, a small voice whispered that maybe things could be different. She told that voice to be quiet. She had been wrong before. The next day came too fast. Gina woke up tired and sore from sleeping on the hard station bed. Her cargo run had been canceled because of a root problem, so she had nothing to do. No work meant no purpose. No purpose meant too much time to think. She decided to go to the dining hall for breakfast. Maybe eating would help her feel normal. On her way there, she met the only friend she had on the station. Kang Dohan was a human medic who worked in the station's medical center. He was tall and thin with kind eyes and a worried face. He always looked worried. Gina thought that was just how his face worked. "Gina," he said, falling into step beside her. "I need to talk to you." "Good morning to you too," she said. Duhan shook his head. "This is serious. There's been talk. Some of the species on the station want to restrict human access to communal areas. They're saying we make other beings uncomfortable." Gina laughed, but there was no humor in it. "We do make them uncomfortable. That's nothing new. It's getting worse," Dohan said. "The Villani security chief has been pushing for new rules. He wants humans to eat in separate areas. He wants us to use different hallways." "Let him try," Gina said. "The human ambassador won't allow it. Maybe, maybe not." Dohan stopped walking and grabbed her arm. "Just be careful, okay? Don't give them any reason to point fingers at us." Gina pulled her arm free. "When have I ever caused trouble?" Dohan did not answer. He just looked at her with those worried eyes. Then he turned and walked away toward the medical center. Jina continued to the dining hall alone. She thought about what Dohan had said. Separate areas. Different hallways. Like humans were a disease that needed to be kept away from healthy beings. She pushed the thought away. There was nothing she could do about it. She was just a cargo pilot. Politics were not her problem. The dining hall was busy when she arrived. She walked to her corner table through the usual silence. She sat down with her tray and began to eat. The Mirathi family was there again. They sat at the same table as yesterday. The mother, Yenna, looked even worse than before. Her fur had lost more shine. Her eyes were half closed. She could barely keep her head up while her cubs played around her. The cubs did not understand. They climbed and jumped and made their happy sounds. They did not know that their mother was falling apart. Gina watched them while pretending not to watch. She had heard stories about Mirathi families. When one parent died, the other often followed soon after. They were not built to be alone. Their hearts could not take it. She wondered again what had happened to the father. "Poor thing," said a voice near her. Jina looked up. An old Rothki trader had spoken. He was small and furry with big, dark eyes. He sat at a table 2 spaces away from her, which was closer than most aliens came. "The Mirathi?" Gina asked. The Rothki nodded. "Her maid was killed by pirates 3 weeks ago. She's been traveling alone with those cubs ever since, trying to reach her family on the other side of the sector." He shook his head. "She won't make it. Anyone can see that." Gina looked back at Yenna. The mother was trying to feed one of her cubs, but her hands were shaking too much. The food fell from her fingers. The cub made a sad sound. "Someone should help her," Gina said quietly. The Rothki laughed. "Someone? Who?" "The Villani don't care about Mirathi. The Rothki have our own problems. No one wants to get involved with a dying widow and her cubs." He stood up and gathered his things. As he passed Gina's table, he paused. "And you certainly can't help," he said. "You're human. You'd scare her to death before you could say hello." Then he was gone. Gina sat still. Her food grew cold in front of her. She could not stop looking at the Mirathi family, at the mother who was fading away, at the cubs who would soon have no one. Something moved at the edge of her vision. The smallest cub had climbed down from its mother's table. It was the same one from yesterday, the one with light fur and golden eyes. It stood on the floor and looked around the hall with curious eyes. Yenna did not notice. She had closed her eyes. She might have been sleeping or just too tired to see. The cub began to walk. It moved between tables, sniffing at chair legs and food scraps. The other aliens pulled their feet away when it came close. They did not want to touch it. They did not want to be responsible. The cub kept walking. It walked past the Villani tables, past the Rothki traders, past every species in the dining hall. It walked straight toward Gina. She watched it come. She did not move. She did not breathe. She just sat there as the small creature crossed the entire hall and stopped at her table. The cub looked up at her with those golden eyes. It made the same sound as yesterday, that small question noise. Then, before Gina could react, it climbed up the leg of her table and sat down right in front of her. The dining hall went completely silent. Every alien in the room was staring. Their eyes were wide. Their mouths were open. Some of them stood up from their chairs. Security officers near the door reached for their weapons. Gina heard someone scream. It was Yenna. The mother had woken up and seen where her cub was. She tried to stand but fell back down. Her body was too weak. "My baby!" Yenna cried. "Please, please don't hurt my baby." Gina slowly lowered her hands to the table. She turned her palms up so everyone could see them. She did not move anything else. The cub sniffed at her food. It poked at something with its small paw. Then it made a happy sound, curled into a ball against Gina's arm, and closed its eyes. It fell asleep. Right there on her table, pressed against the arm of a human. The security officers were moving closer. Their weapons were out. Someone was yelling about protocols and contamination and danger. Yenna was crying. "Please," she begged. "Please, she's just a baby. She doesn't know. Please don't hurt her." Gina looked up at the crowd of terrified faces. She saw their fear. She saw their hate. She saw everything they thought about her kind. Then she spoke. Her voice was soft and calm. "I'm not going to hurt them." No one moved. No one knew what to do. They had never seen anything like this before. A Death Worlder with a Mirathi cub sleeping against her arm. The other two cubs had woken up. They saw their sister on the strange creature's table. They did not see danger. They only saw a warm place and a calm person. They climbed down from their mother's table and began to walk across the hall. Yenna screamed again. Gina did not move. She just waited. She had spent her whole life being feared. Maybe today she could be something else. The two other cubs climbed onto Gina's table. They sniffed at her hands, her arms, her food. They made soft sounds to each other. Then they curled up next to their sister and closed their eyes. 3 Mirathi cubs sleeping on a human's table. The dining hall had never seen anything like it. Security officers surrounded Gina. There were 6 of them, all Villani. Their hard shells clicked as they moved. Their weapons pointed at her from every direction. The leader stepped forward. He was taller than the others, with darker shell and cold eyes. His name was Commander Thrall, and everyone on the station knew he hated humans. "Human?" he said. His voice was sharp, like breaking glass. "You will release those cubs immediately." Gina did not move. "I'm not holding them. They came to me." "You lured them," Thrall said. "You used some trick. Some human trick to attract children." "I was eating my breakfast," Gina said calmly. "I did nothing." Thrall's eyes clicked with anger. "Your kind always does something. Your kind cannot be trusted." A new voice cut through the noise. "That's enough, Commander." Everyone turned. A human man pushed through the crowd. He wore formal clothes and carried himself with confidence. His name was Bei Sunho, and he was the human ambassador to Harmony 7. "Ambassador," Thrall said with disgust. "This is a security matter, not a political one." "It became political the moment you pointed weapons at a human citizen," Sunho said. He stopped next to Gina's table and looked at the sleeping cubs. A small smile crossed his face. These children made a choice. They chose to trust her. "Are you saying Mirathi cubs cannot make their own choices?" Thrall's shell clicked loudly. "The cubs are too young to understand danger. Their mother is clearly unfit. We must protect them from this predator." "Predator?" Gina finally showed anger. "I haven't moved from this spot. I haven't touched them. I've done nothing but sit here while everyone points weapons at me." Yenna had managed to stand. She leaned against another alien for support. Her whole body shook as she stared at her cubs sleeping peacefully against the human. "Please," she whispered. "I just want my children back." Gina looked at her. She saw the fear in Yenna's eyes, but she also saw something else. She saw a mother who was barely holding on. A mother who had nothing left. "I won't stop you from taking them," Gina said to Yenna. "They're your children. But I promise you, I mean them no harm." "I never did." Yenna took a shaky step forward. Thrall moved to block her. "The cubs need to be examined first," he said. "The human may have contaminated them." "Contaminated?" Dalhan's voice came from somewhere in the crowd. The medic pushed forward with his medical scanner in hand. "Let me through. I'll scan them right now." Thrall did not want to agree, but he had no good reason to refuse. He stepped aside with an angry click. Doan approached the table slowly. He looked at Gina with worried eyes, then at the 3 sleeping cubs. He ran his scanner over each of them carefully. "No contamination," he said. "No injury. No signs of stress or fear. He paused and looked at the results again. But they are severely malnourished. These cubs haven't had proper food in weeks. Everyone looked at Yenna. The mother lowered her head in shame. I couldn't afford it, she said quietly. After my mate died, I had nothing. I gave the cubs everything I had. But it wasn't enough. It was never enough. Gina looked at her own tray. She had barely touched her food. Without thinking, she pushed it toward the sleeping cubs. The smallest one woke up. It smelled the food and made a happy noise. Then it began to eat. The other two woke up and joined their sister. They ate like they had not seen real food in a very long time, because they hadn't. Yenna watched her cubs eat. Tears ran down her silver fur. She looked at Gina with an expression that was hard to read. Why? She asked. Why would you help us? Your kind are supposed to be monsters. Gina was quiet for a moment. She watched the cubs eat her breakfast. They were so small, so hungry, so trusting. On my world, she said finally, we have a saying. It takes a village to raise a child. She looked up at Yenna. Your village is gone. Maybe I can help carry the weight. The dining hall was silent. No one knew what to say. No one had expected this. Yenna pushed past Thorell. The security commander tried to stop her, but she was still a Marathi. Even weak, she was strong enough to move him aside. She walked to Gina's table. She looked at the human for a long moment. Then she sat down across from her. I am Yenna, she said. I am Gina, said the human. The cubs finished eating and climbed into their mother's arms. But the smallest one, the one with light fur and golden eyes, stayed on Gina's side of the table. She pressed her small body against the human's arm and made a content sound. Yenna watched this happen. She did not pull her cub away. Ran has always been different, she said. She feels things that others cannot. If she trusts you, then maybe I should trust you too. Thorell stepped forward. His shell was almost shaking with anger. This is not acceptable, he said. A human has no right to interact with the children of other species. This sets a dangerous example. Sunho crossed his arms. What law has been broken, Commander? What rule has been violated? The human sat at her table and ate her meal. Children approached her of their own will. She fed them because they were hungry. He looked around at the crowd. If this is a crime, then kindness itself is a crime. Thorell had no answer. He knew he was beaten, at least for today. This is not over, he said to Gina. The station is watching. Your kind always shows their true nature eventually. He turned and walked away. His officers followed. The crowd slowly broke apart. Aliens returned to their meals, but they kept looking at Gina's table. At the human sitting with a Marathi mother and her cubs, Dohan pulled up a chair and sat down. Well, he said, that was the most exciting breakfast I've ever had. Gina almost smiled. I just wanted to eat in peace. Too late for that, Dohan said. By tomorrow, everyone on the station will know about this. The human who fed the starving cubs. Yenna looked at Gina with soft eyes. I have been traveling for 3 weeks, through 5 stations and countless ships. Not one person offered to help us. They all looked away. Her voice shook. You are the first one who looked at us and saw something worth saving. Gina did not know what to say. She had not done anything special. She had just sat still and offered her food. That was all. But looking at Yenna's face, at the gratitude and wonder in her eyes, Gina realized that sometimes sitting still was the bravest thing a person could do. The smallest cub. Ren looked up at Gina and made her question sound again. This time, Gina knew what she was asking. She was asking if the human would stay. Gina put her hand gently on the cub's head. The fur was soft and warm. I'm not going anywhere, she said. The days that followed changed everything. Words spread across Harmony 7 like fire. Everyone talked about the human who protected the Mirathi cubs. Some called her brave. Others called her dangerous. Most did not know what to call her at all. Gina tried to return to her normal life. She took cargo runs when they were available. She ate her meals at her corner table. She kept her head down and minded her own business. But normal was gone forever. Yenna and the cubs were still on the station. Their ship needed repairs, and they had no money to pay for them. The mother worked small jobs when she could, but her strength had not fully returned. Most of her time was spent resting while Gina watched over the cubs. It started small. Gina would stop by their room in the morning to check on them. Then she would bring food because the station rations were not good for growing cubs. Then she would stay to play with them because they begged her not to leave. Before she knew it, Gina had become part of their family. The cubs loved her. They climbed on her shoulders and played with her hair. They asked endless questions about Earth and humans and why she only had 2 arms when they had 4. They fell asleep in her lap while she told them stories about blue oceans and green forests and animals they could not imagine. Wren, the smallest one, became her shadow. Wherever Gina went, Wren followed. The little cub would wait outside Gina's room every morning. She would sit at Gina's feet while she ate. She would cry when Gina had to leave for work. "She has chosen you," Yenna said one evening. They were sitting in Yenna's small room while the cubs slept in a pile on the bed. In Mirathi culture, when a cub chooses someone outside the family, it means they have seen your soul. They have decided you are worthy. Gina did not know how to feel about that. "I'm just a cargo pilot. There's nothing special about me." Yenna smiled. It was the first real smile Gina had seen on her face. "You say that, but you do not see yourself clearly. You took in 3 scared cubs without hesitation. You fed them when they were hungry. You held them when they were sad. You did all this knowing that other humans would be blamed for your actions." That was true. Gina had not thought about it at the time, but her choices affected all humans on the station. If something went wrong, if the cubs got hurt somehow, every human would pay the price. Other humans had thought about it. And instead of being angry, they had stepped up to help. Yoon Mireille was a human engineer who worked in the station's repair bay. She had heard about Yenna's broken ship and offered to fix it for free. She worked on it every night after her regular shift ended, using spare parts she had saved over the years. "We humans have to stick together," Mireille said when Gina tried to thank her. "But more than that, we have to show these aliens who we really are. Not monsters, not predators, just people who help other people." Choi Taiwan was a human chef who ran a small food stall in the market area. He started making special meals for Mirathi family, food that was safe for their bodies and good for their health. He refused to accept any payment. "Those cubs need to grow strong," he said. "How can I call myself a cook if I let children go hungry?" Even Ambassador Sunho found ways to help. He arranged for Yenna to receive temporary housing assistance. He made sure her legal documents were processed quickly, so she could continue her journey when her ship was ready. Humans of Harmony 7 came together like Gina had never seen before, but not everyone was happy. Commander Thrall had not forgotten what happened in the dining hall. He watched Gina constantly. He followed her through the station. He questioned anyone who talked to her. He was building a case, everyone knew it. The anti-human groups grew bolder. They held meetings in the lower levels of the station. They spread stories about human violence and human cruelty. They said that the Mirathi mother had been tricked, that her cubs had been hypnotized, that humans were using them for some evil purpose. Gina tried to ignore it. She focused on the cubs, on her work, on getting through each day. But the pressure was growing. One night, Yenna asked Gina a question that she had been thinking about for a long time. The cubs want to know why humans are not afraid of anything. They have heard stories that your people fight predators with bare hands, that you survive wounds that would kill any other species, that you never run away, even when you should." Gina was quiet. She looked at the three cubs who had woken up and were watching her with curious eyes. "We are afraid," she said finally. "We are afraid of many things: pain, death, losing the people we love. But a long time ago, we learned something important." "What?" Ren asked in her small voice. "We learned that fear does not have to stop you." Gina pulled the cubs closer. "On Earth, we faced terrible things. Animals that wanted to eat us. Diseases that killed millions. Weather that could destroy everything we built. And yes, we were afraid. We were always afraid. But we did not let that fear control us." "How?" asked the middle cub, whose name was Tan. "We protected each other," Gina said. "When one person was too scared to move, another person would stand in front of them. When one person fell, 10 others would pick them up. We survived because we never stopped caring about each other. Even when it was hard. Even when it was dangerous. Even when everyone told us to give up." The eldest cub, Mira, tilted her head. "Is that why you helped us? Because you were protecting us?" Gina nodded. "You were small and hungry and scared. Your mother was alone and hurting. How could I not help you? What kind of person would I be if I looked away?" Yenna wiped tears from her eyes. "I was so close to giving up," she whispered. "After my mate died, I did not want to live anymore. I only kept going because of the cubs. But every day was harder than the last. Every day I thought about ending our journey." She looked at Gina with grateful eyes. "Then you came. A monster from my nightmares. A death worlder that everyone said would kill us on sight. And you fed my children. You held them while they slept. You gave me hope again." Gina did not know what to say. She had never thought of herself as someone who could give hope to others. She was just a lonely pilot who wanted to eat breakfast in peace. But maybe that was enough. Maybe being kind was enough. Maybe showing up and trying was enough. Ren climbed into Gina's lap and put her small paws on the human's face. "You are good," the cub said. "I knew you were good when I first saw you. My heart told me." Gina held the small creature close. For the first time in a very long time, she felt like she belonged somewhere. Then her communicator beeped. It was a message from Dawn. "Gina, bad news. Thrall called for a tribunal. They want to discuss human presence on the station. You need to come, now." Gina's heart dropped. The day she feared had finally arrived. Ren felt her fear. The cub looked up at her with worried eyes. "What is wrong?" she asked. Gina took a deep breath. "I have to go somewhere. Some people want to talk about whether humans should stay on this station. But you cannot leave," Ren said. "You promised." Gina kissed the cub's head. "I'm not leaving. I'm going to fight. That's what humans do." She stood up and walked toward the door. She did not know what would happen at the tribunal. She did not know if she could win, but she knew one thing for certain: she was not afraid anymore. The tribunal chamber was the largest room on Harmony 7. It was shaped like a bowl, with rows of seats rising up on all sides. In the center was a platform where the accused would stand. At the front was a long table where the station council sat. Gina had never been here before. She hoped she would never have to come back. The chamber was full. Hundreds of aliens packed the seats, representatives from every species on the station. They all wanted to see what would happen. They all wanted to watch the humans be judged. Gina stood on the platform alone. She could feel all their eyes on her. Some were curious. Some were angry. Most were afraid. Commander Thrall stood before the council table. His shell gleamed under the bright lights. His voice filled the chamber like thunder. This tribunal has been called to discuss a matter of station security, he said. The presence of humans on Harmony 7 has become a threat to all peaceful species. I will present evidence showing that humans are dangerous, manipulative, and cannot be trusted. He pressed a button on his device. Images appeared on the large screens around the chamber. Images of Earth wars. Images of human weapons. Images of death and destruction that made the audience gasp. This is what humans do, Thrall said. This is their nature. They destroy. They conquer. They kill. And now they have come to our station, pretending to be peaceful, waiting for the right moment to show their true faces. Ambassador Sunho stood up from his seat in the human section. These images are from our history, yes, but they are not our present. Humanity has changed. We have learned from our mistakes. Have you? Thrall clicked his shell with contempt. That explains why one of your kind has been targeting Mirathi children. Explain why she has separated those cubs from their mother. Explain why she's been spreading human influence through the most vulnerable members of another species. Gina wanted to speak, but she knew it was not her turn. She had to wait. She had to be patient. Sunho presented the human defense. He showed statistics about human contributions to the station. He quoted treaties and agreements. He spoke about cooperation and understanding and the future of interspecies relations. The council listened politely, but Gina could see they were not convinced. Numbers and treaties did not change feelings. Fear was stronger than logic. When Sunho finished, the council leader spoke. He was an old Valani with faded shell and tired eyes. We have heard both sides, he said. The evidence is clear that humans have a violent history. The question is whether they have truly changed. He looked at Gina. The human called Park Gina. You are at the center of this dispute. Do you wish to speak? Gina nodded. She stepped forward on the platform. I am a cargo pilot, she said. Her voice was calm and steady. I fly supplies between stations and planets. I do not fight. I do not conquer. I do not destroy. I just want to do my job and live in peace. Then why did you interfere with the Mirathi family? Thrall demanded. I did not interfere. I was eating breakfast when a cub walked up to my table. She was not afraid of me. She chose to trust me when no one else would. I did not lure her. I did not trick her. I just sat still and let her see that I was not a monster. The chamber was silent. Gina continued. On my world, there is a saying, actions speak louder than words. I can tell you all day that humans are good. I can show you statistics and treaties and promises. But that will not change your minds. Only actions can do that. A small voice interrupted her. I want to talk. Everyone turned. In the doorway of the chamber stood Ren. The small cub had escaped from her mother and followed Gina to the tribunal. Yenna hurried in behind her, reaching for her daughter. Ren, no, Yenna said. You cannot be here. But Ren walked forward. She walked past the security guards, past the council table, right up to the platform where Gina stood. Her golden eyes looked up at the human with complete trust. I want to talk, she said again. The council leader leaned forward. This is unusual. A cub speaking at a tribunal. Please, Yenna said, joining her daughter. Let her speak. She has something important to say. The council discussed quietly among themselves. Finally, the leader nodded. Very well. The cub may speak. Ren turned to face the crowd. She was so small, so young, but her voice was clear. When my father died, I was very sad. My mother was sad too. We traveled for many days and no one helped us. Everyone looked away. Everyone was scared of us because we were different. She pointed at Gina. Then she came. She did not look away. She did not run. She just sat there and let me be near her. When I was hungry, she gave me food. When I was scared, she held me. When I was sad, she told me stories about her home. Tears formed in her golden eyes. Everyone says humans are bad. Everyone says they are monsters. But she is not a monster. She is kind. She is good. She is my friend. The chamber was completely silent. No one moved. No one breathed. Then Yenna stepped forward. I was taught to fear humans, she said. I taught my cubs to fear them. But fear is a cage we build ourselves. We lock ourselves inside and throw away the key. She looked around at the hundreds of faces watching her. I have been on this station for weeks. I have passed through 5 stations in countless ships. Dozens of species saw my family suffering. Not one offered help. They were too busy, too scared, too convinced that it was not their problem. Her voice grew stronger. Only the humans helped. Only these monsters that everyone fears. They fixed my ship. They fed my children. They gave us hope when we had none. She looked at Gina with love in her eyes. I do not care what your images show. I do not care what happened in human history. I know what I have seen with my own eyes. Humans are not evil. They are just people trying to survive, like the rest of us. One by one, other voices joined hers. A Rafki trader stood up. A human saved my cargo from raiders 2 years ago. She asked for nothing in return. A Volani scientist raised his hand. My human colleague worked double shifts to finish our research. He slept in the lab for a week so we would not miss our deadline. More and more voices spoke. Small stories of kindness and courage. Tiny moments that no one had noticed before. Humans helping, humans caring, humans being human. Commander Thrall tried to interrupt, but no one listened to him anymore. The council leader raised his hand for silence. We have heard enough, he said. This tribunal was called to judge humans. But perhaps we should judge ourselves instead. We are the ones who looked away from a suffering family. We are the ones who let fear control us. We are the ones who failed. He stood up. The motion to restrict human access is denied. Humans may remain on Harmony 7 with full rights and privileges. This tribunal is closed. The chamber erupted in noise. Some cheered. Some protested. But most just sat in stunned silence. Thrall stormed out without a word. His career on the station was over. Everyone knew it. Gina knelt down and hugged Ren tight. The little cub wrapped her arms around the human's neck. You did it, Gina whispered. You brave, wonderful little creature. No, Ren said. We did it, together. Weeks later, Gina sat at her usual table in the dining hall. But now she was not alone. Yenna sat across from her, finally healthy and strong. The 3 cubs played around them, eating and laughing. Doham sat beside Gina, telling a story about a patient who sneezed for 3 days straight. Myray and Taiwan had pulled up chairs, adding their own jokes and comments. The dining hall was still full of aliens. They still looked at Gina's table. But now their eyes held something different, not fear. Curiosity, interest, maybe even respect. Some of them nodded at Gina when she looked their way. A few even smiled. Things were not perfect. They would never be perfect. There would always be people like Thrall who feared what they did not understand. There would always be walls to break down and minds to change. But today, in this moment, Gina was surrounded by friends. She had a family that loved her. She had a purpose beyond flying cargo through empty space. The smallest cub climbed into her lap and made her question sound. Gina smiled. What is it, Ren? Tell me a story about Earth, the cub said. Tell me about the ocean. Gina looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, millions of miles away, was a blue planet covered in water. A place where humans had learned to survive against impossible odds. A place where they had learned to care for each other. All right, she said. Have I told you about the whales? They are creatures bigger than this room. They sing to each other across thousands of miles. And when one of them is hurt or sick, the others stay with them. They never leave each other alone. Ren's eyes went wide. Like you, she said. You never left us alone. Gina felt tears in her eyes. She held the cup close. No, she said. I never did. And I never will. The dining hall continued around them. Life went on. But at one small table in the corner, surrounded by friends and family, a human had found her place among the stars. She had found her home.